All right, this is lesson 8.7, and this is what we're going to be factoring when we have a number other than a 1 out front. So if you notice in all three of these problems, we have something other than a 1 leading the way. And so we're just going to review how do you factor those types of problems. All right, so looking at your first example here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take 3 times 10 and get 30 for the top of your x. Then the 17 drops to the bottom, so I'm looking for factors of 30 that get 17. So that would be 15 and 2. So now with that, reminder, you're going to take that and rewrite this 17. So you're going to have 3x squared plus 15x plus 2x plus 10. All right, now that you have 4 terms, we group, pull out a 3x, and you have x plus 5. On the second grouping, pull out a 2, and you get x plus 5 again. And remember, those insides need to match, so that's a good thing. We then rewrite the outsides together so that 3x plus 2 becomes one factor, and x plus 5 is your other factor. And that will be your final solution. Okay? All right, now, I've talked about in class quite a bit about that our first step should always be to pull a GCF. Now, if you'll take note here that we've got a 6, a 22, and a 40. So when I'm looking at these are all even. So I know at least a 2's coming out. Maybe something higher, but I know 2. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a 2 out and get 3x squared minus 11xy minus 20y squared. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do my multiplication. And I'm going to make my x, and I'm going to put negative 60 on top and negative 11 on the bottom. So I'm looking for factors of negative 60 that get us negative 11. And I know 4 and 15 will get us close. If I make the 15 negative, now I've got the negative 11 I'm looking for. All right, so I'm going to rewrite 2 out front. My pen up here. 2 out front. And I've got 3x squared plus 4, and since I have a double variable in the middle, it'll be xy minus 15xy, keep those variables together, and then minus 20y squared. All right, so now I'm going to break it off and group in the middle. Remember that negative has to stay with that 15 there in the middle. All right, so I'm going to pull out an x, so I have 3x plus 4y. And on this last part here, I'm going to pull out a negative 5y. And so when I do that, I get 3x plus 4y. And I still have my GCF of 2 hanging out. So now I'm going to rewrite my final answer, 2. Put together your outside, so x minus 5y, and then write down your inside. How about we put a 3 there? 3x plus 4y. And that's going to be your final answer. So this example was primarily to remind you, you have to pull that GCF before you factor any farther. All right, and our last example here, number 3, we've got 4y squared minus 49. So when we talked about this last week, I told you to rewrite it as 4y squared, and keep in mind that there were 0 y's in the middle, minus 49. Okay, so now in this case there is no GCF, but I am still going to go ahead and have to multiply. All right, so I'm going to take 4 times negative 49, and that is going to give me negative 196 on top, and I'm looking for 0 on the bottom. Now, kind of a hint here, if nothing comes to mind real quick, a little trick of the trade is to take the square root of 196 and see what you end up with. And in this case, you can zoom out here. In this case, you're actually going to end up, when you do that, with a 14. And so if I think about that, a negative 14 and a positive 14 will get me an answer. So every once in a while, it won't work all the time, but every once in a while, sometimes you can take the square root of this number and find out that you'll get a 0 that way. All right, so now I'm going to rewrite. I've got 4y squared minus 14y plus 14y minus 49. I'm going to group it. And the first group here, I'm going to pull out a 2y and have 2y minus 7. The second grouping, I'm going to pull a 7 and have 2y minus 7 there as well. So my factors are 2y plus 7, putting together the outsides, and 2y minus 7, rewriting the inside. And that's going to be my final answer. So this was a concept we learned last week, but I was a little worried we might forget when we've got that 4y squared minus 49 that you do need to rewrite it with that 0 in the middle, and then you're still going through the same process that we've learned. All right, and that concludes our video notes for lesson 8-7.